Hey guys, welcome to Life Talks. Today we're going to dive in a little bit more into a little bit more personal side of the things we face in life as apostolic young people. We're going to dive into a little bit of divine detours. So stay tuned and welcome to Life Talks.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Life Talks. Today we are, it's been a while since we've actually done one, hasn't it, Connor?
Yeah, it's been a while.
And
since we've recorded one.
Yeah, so we successfully published like 3 episodes ahead of time. And so we're kind of like, got to get back in the groove. As you can probably notice, we hope you can notice that our audio quality is better. We have upgraded our equipment a little bit here. So it's probably going to be a little bit different this round. We're going to have to worry about getting the kinks worked out. And also, we don't have our professional sound engineer with us either. So
yeah, we're winging it tonight.
Yeah, so where you at? Come back out. We need you to come back. But yeah, so we've tried to increase the sound quality. And so we're going to see how this new stuff works out. We're excited about it. We're actually able to do a lot more now, and we have some pretty cool things we can do with this setup, and so it's going to be awesome.
Yeah.
So first off, let's just start out, and Connor, how'd your week go?
Yeah, it went pretty good, man. Done a lot of traveling.
A lot of traveling?
Yeah, most traveling I've done in a while, but I've done it.
So you're kind of busy this week, huh?
Yeah, real busy. Well, I mean, not real busy, but I was as busy as I wanted to be.
Yeah, I was busy this week too, so I submitted my draft for my proposal last Saturday and got it back today, and so things are getting crunch time with the semester.
Yeah. Well, you got just a little bit more before you start getting into the hard stuff, right?
Yeah, unfortunately. So I guess it's been a crunch time for both of us, huh?
Yeah, I mean, we're getting down to the wire myself with graduation coming up and stuff like that.
So
it's coming down to the end. Nerve-wracking.
Yeah, it's always the stress time. Of course,
right.
It's just a continual stress is all it is. Fun fact out there for all of our people that are 18, 19, 20, 21, and my age, learn to live with it. It's not going away.
No.
It's now an integrated part of your life, and you just have to learn to deal with it. I don't mean that in a bad way. It's just, it's part of life. You know, we would like to live life less stressful, but there's going to be stress, unfortunately.
It's never going to go away.
So, so you mentioned that you went off for a little while this week. So did you get anything good from while you was gone?
Oh, man. It's where do you want to start? It depends on where you want to start.
Did you go to church any?
Yeah, I went to church. Let's see. I was out of town Sunday night here, but I was in church. So I was, I guess I went about 4 or 5 times throughout the week, and it was all at a different place. So it was real good.
We got to give him a hand clap. He's getting spiritual, people.
Yeah, it was real good though. We got to visit with some friends of my family, and real fun. A lot of different types of services, from youth rallies to Bible teaching services, and back to preaching, and
so who's
everything.
So, give us.
You want a preview?
Tell us about somebody that you were with this week.
All right, well, I was with one of my dad's longtime friends he grew up with, a guy by the name of Pastor Franklin in Jonesville, Louisiana. I've known him my whole life, but I haven't known him, if that makes sense. I've seen him, always knew his name, knew his face. We know each other, but we've never really got to sit down and talk for a while. So got to do that multiple times this week. And then if he hears this, he probably would deny it. But got to sit down with one of the greatest investors of youth of our generation, Brother Wells.
Awesome.
And, he's definitely an investor. So
How'd that go over?
it went real well. Got to hear him teach, preach, whatever you want to call it.
Get some firsthand insight?
No, it's just really just catching up a lot.
Nice. If you haven't met Brother Wells, by the way, you need to make sure
you're
to
missing
do that.
out. You're missing out on a guy who's super involved in the church but knows how to have fun, good godly fun, and just superb guy all the way around. So.
I think this is the second or third time we've actually had Brother Wells' name come up in the podcast.
Right.
Because he's just, like you said, he's one of those guys that as a young person you look to. Like you said, he puts in so much into the young people. And he's, one of those pillars that somebody that's, he's older, but he's closer.
Right.
More recently from being our age. Because I remember, of course it's been a little while now, but I remember back when he was probably our age when he first got married and started evangelizing and stuff. So he's still, I guess you could call it new.
Yeah, he's still very relevant.
So
very relevant. He's wisdom is out of this world for a young minister, young people. It's just, I guess, his perspective on things for young people, his desire for young people to see them grow. It's pretty amazing. So as much as we talk about him, we need him on here. I know he's really good. Well, you knew him from Alabama.
Yeah.
I've known him from revivals here in Mississippi. He preached, but yeah, it's just, there's nothing like being around people who give you a little bit of wisdom, guidance, and
yeah. Back when I knew more, or I guess more relative when I knew him was back when I was like in fourth grade. So that's been a little while.
That must have been around his early evangelist days.
Yes, it was. It was around some of his early evangelist days.
He's real good. I enjoyed hanging out with him for a little while.
That was before he ever started pastoring.
Yeah. I tell you what, he's got a thriving church. Speaking of church, Friday night, this upcoming Friday night, the 26th, you don't want to miss it. Youthquake. JS Mississippi, be there.
Brother Robinson's.
It's going to be phenomenal. Brother
Taylor Fish.
Brother Taylor Fish from Texas will be there preaching.
I haven't heard him preach yet. Have you?
I never have either. But
it sounds like he may be.
I've heard he's real good. Nothing but great things from him. Got a couple of friends that I've met over the last week from JS that had nothing but great things to say about him. So I'm looking forward to hearing him preach Friday night, 7:30, I assume. One of those times, just be there. You won't miss it.
Yep.
You won't miss the preaching at all.
Me and Connor will be there. So look us up. Come say hi.
Yeah.
May give you some inside scoops. You never know.
We're nothing special, but we'd love to meet some people. To meet some people who listen. We got a couple that listen that we've met here recently, but
and
connected with over social media, rather.
Right, yeah, and then there's some people that that I personally don't yet. And then there's people that I know that you don't.
Yeah, I mean,
that's listening. And then there's people that we both don't know. We have no idea.
Well, I think we said the other day that there's people from according to our app. I don't know the states itself, but it showed from all over the United States.
Yeah. So last time I looked, I think I looked Thursday or Friday. We're getting listeners from 20 different states right now, and we're getting listeners from more than just the U.S. So
right, and hey, we want to meet everybody. That'd be fun. What'd you do this week?
Man, it was mainly my usual. School, go home, go to bed, get back up, do it again. it was a little bit more relaxing this week because since I submitted that draft, I could actually get back into the groove of actually doing some research. But it had been so long since I'd done it. Man, I made a fool of myself this week during lab. I set up a reaction thinking I was starting with a certain compound, only to realize that after the reaction, I had started with the compound I was trying to make, and so felt like a complete idiot.
Oh, it's okay.
Felt like a complete idiot. I told my boss when he came in, I was like, you know what? I feel stupid. I feel stupid.
I'm sure he didn't say that and agree with you.
He just laughed. It was kind of embarrassing. When you've been, I mean, I've only been doing it 2 years, but it was one of those mistakes. It's like, really?
Like a rookie mistake.
Oh, it's like a rookie's rookie mistake. Like, it's like never walking into a lab mistake, and I've been in there for 2 years. So, yeah, it's pretty embarrassing.
Well, I'm sure he didn't think that much about it, considering you just wrote a 15-page paper for him. So
yeah, so
I knew your mind was not even on the reaction.
It's, you transition from one thing to another, and it's easy to get out of the habit of something and get into the habit of something else, and then when you have to backtrack, it's kind of
right.
like you got to re-get your focus and stuff. And so,
well, I've been thinking, it's kind of not on the school level, but I was thinking this week something sort of along the lines of how me and you both got to Hattiesburg. I know we both addressed this already, but you moved to Hattiesburg for school. I moved here for school and church. So
you're saying I didn't move here for church?
Well, you moved here for church, but school was the prominent deal that got you here.
Correct.
You was not just church looking for a church somewhere. School got you here, but so I was thinking about it. Both of us had something catch us off guard completely to bring us here.
Tell me about it.
And so that brings us somewhat to where we was going to talk today on. It's kind of, I guess you can just call it detours. As I was sitting there during the week, my little trip, I visited a church, and this thought was not original. It's just something I heard preached that really hit home to a degree. But the pastor I was visiting that night preached on detours, divine detours. And I got to thinking about it. Both of us, not just wake up one morning and say, hey, we're going to Hattiesburg. It was kind of a God deal that brought everybody here, especially us two. It's not something we just sit there and planned out. And my mind just began to go through it. People our age often go through this more than it's talked about. So I thought we might can discuss maybe a little bit how we felt about our divine detour.
Divine detour.
Definitely not a plan.
So my detour was so last minute. So I had the thought of wanting to go to grad school.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, my divine detour started before grad school, but as the most recent divine detour, I had the thought of wanting to go to grad school, and I didn't know where I was going to go. I was thinking about places to apply. I was running out of time to apply. Now, take it, people that's in college that's maybe listening to this understands that when you apply to school, you have to apply like the semester before you go.
Right.
Right, and if you're applying to graduation, a lot of times you have to apply the semester before you graduate. Well, I graduated in May, and I was still looking for a place to go to school in April. And I was looking to start school in August. And so the prospects weren't very broad for me, I guess you could say.
Right, yeah.
And for one thing, it was kind of, I wanted to go somewhere where there was a church, of course. And so that limited, to my knowledge of where I could go. Because, the first thing that come to my mind was, where do I know where there's a church? There's Birmingham, which I was wanting to go to UAB possibly. Here at USM was another option. And I was like, well, there's a church in Hattiesburg. And then the other place was actually the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill, which is it's not close, but it's not far from, if I'm not mistaken, from Brother Godaire's church, which is now Brother Urshan's.
Right. So you had pretty good options.
Yeah, so I had pretty good options. I was really wanting to go to UAB. I was really wanting to go to UNC, but it's just like something's like, well, I want to go to UNC, but I just don't know. I just don't know if that feels right.
So let me interrupt you here and say, how did you finally figure out?
One thing,
Detours have, it's not, as we already said, it's not planned. It's something you feel after as you do it.
Yeah, so I applied, and so it was really weird. So I was applying to UAB, now that you mentioned that. I was applying to UAB, and some of the professors, knew where I was applying because I had to get recommendation letters. And one of the professors is like, oh, I did some of my master's work at USM, and they've reached out to me, and they're looking for students. And I was like, wow. Really? Huh.
Wow.
And at that point, I really hadn't thought about going to USM. And so this is like March.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, oh, cool. Like, is it worth it? Is there anything good there? Because that's the first thing to do is start asking the professors. They've been to these places, And they're like, well, it's not top notch, but, it's good.
It's good quality.
Yeah. And I was like, well, maybe I'll give it a shot. And so they got me some contact information, and I actually started getting responses from the graduate program coordinator to be from the university. And when I applied to UAB and UNC, I wasn't hearing anything, like nothing.
That's a sign.
And so I was like, well, it's not looking too good for these, And I really didn't know about USM. I was like, don't know. And I wound up with an interview the day after the awards banquet, the chemistry awards banquet. And we did the interview, and that was the only university I had an interview with at that point. I was like, I hadn't heard anything from anybody else. Of course, they could send me something in the summer, before they accepted me. And it was like a week after I had the interview. So here's the thing. I applied, got the application completely submitted on like a Tuesday. That Thursday, I heard from the program, we want to do an interview with you tomorrow.
This USM?
Yes, or that following Monday or something. It was something like that. Like, it all happened within a week. It was like super, just like boom. And so I was like, man, this is kind of rapid. And here I am balancing, and then I'm like, I get an offer. And so I'm like, oh, how do I go here? And here's the thing. They're like, you have a week to make a decision. They're like, we're giving you a week from today to tell us whether you're coming or not. And I'm like,
how many days of fasting did you do that week?
And I was like, well, this is, this is not what I was expecting. I kind of knew, so I kind of had already been praying about it. Lord, if it's your will, just let me get accepted.
Right.
Somewhere. And so when they accepted me, and part of them accepting me and the quick response I got from them that week of how fast it all happened, I was kind of like, this is starting to this is not normal.
Right.
And so they accepted me, and I thought about it, and I thought about like 3 or 4 days, and some of the professors were like, I might would wait a little bit and just see if you get an offer from somebody else. And I kind of pushed the time, but when I got to thinking about it, I was like, there's a good church there. This is just, even talk to somebody that's like, well, with it happen so fast, do you think that maybe it's not the will of God? And I was like, well, actually, I think right the opposite. I was like, this kind of come up out of nowhere.
Mm-hmm.
I know that, the devil will try to throw things to get you distracted. But in the back of my mind, it just, I don't really know how to explain it. It felt right, but yet like there was still the unknown.
Right, yeah.
But
the fear of the unknown got you.
But the thing was, I knew it wasn't meant for me to graduate with my degree and just continue working where I was working. Like that wasn't right. That didn't feel right. And so, because it was the Lord's will for me to get my undergrad degree, and I'm like, well, why would the Lord have me go get a degree and then just pitch it to the side.
That don't
After
make
5
sense.
years, I
Right.
wasted 5 years getting a degree, and I'm not even using it. Like, what's the point of that? I understand I may have come into contact with people, but God does everything in a very orderly fashion. He doesn't just randomly throw in things in people's life.
You know, he has a plan.
So
Exactly.
And so with that, I was kind of like, yeah, this is starting to look like it. And
Well, with the last, I guess, 2 months, with Brother Posey being here at our church, you know, I feel like as a youth group, we've seen some things begin to take shape. And as I was sitting here listening to this message last Wednesday night, as young people, I feel like one little hiccup in life and we get all discombobulated and threw off track. Because I feel like most of it's because we're young and we're still learning, but it can hurt us if we're not careful with a detour.
so this just kind of in my mind, it kind of goes back to when we had the episode with Pastor, him saying how there's such a push now for you to have your life figured out at such a young
Right.
age. And so when something like that happens, it's like we just lose our footing. It's like, oh my word,
Yeah.
I don't have it figured out. What am I going to do?
Life's falling apart, it seems
Yeah.
like. Well, and I know, and I don't know about you, but in these past 2 months, I'm beginning to see a shift in myself, just the way I view things, especially in some of them services we had where it would go turn into more like a prayer meeting
Right.
on Sunday nights. And, you know, Sunday nights is where it kind of blows up normally, but it turned into everybody crying for an hour straight. And you get your most life-changing services in those kind of services. Or for me, at least, that's where I get mine.
Yep.
And as the pastor Wednesday night, where I was beginning to talk about Paul in Acts 28, when he was prisoner on the ship. Most everybody knows the story, how the ship is destroyed or floating to the island. Some of them swim. Some of them are holding on to the boards of the ship. But it was all for a plan, and I wrestle with it myself, not knowing the plan. And I know if I do, there's other people my age who wrestle with it themselves. I'm not afraid to admit that, you know, as a 19-year-old, I wrestle with it all the time, not knowing. Like you said, you wrestle with it. You didn't know what was the right decision to come here.
And it's pretty much in human nature to want to be in control of things.
Right.
And, but you can't control everything.
No, you can't. And I feel like sometimes, if Pastor listens to this and we're off, I know he'll correct us, but sometimes it's best not to have control. As far as the leading of the Holy Ghost in your life, it's best not to have control in it. And you want to do everything right that you can, but at the same time, you want to be, how would you say it, available and with no restrictions to allowing God to do whatever.
Kind of be open-minded.
Right, yeah.
Right.
It's a better word than what I was thinking, but it's just hard sometimes. And when we started this podcast, it's things like this that I know in the first couple episodes we done the one with Pastor, but now it's kind of getting to where we discuss our stuff we face every day on a much more detailed level.
Right.
And there's things in life that young people, I feel like, are afraid that not knowing in the moment that are like these. Well, that dropped. Bet the new microphones picked that up real good. But there's things in life as young people that at the time we don't realize it's a detour for something better, but we get so frustrated not knowing the detour and where it's taking us.
When you think you have everything figured out, that's
You
when
don't.
you find out you really don't.
You really don't. And I, as I sit there, today's Saturday, our prayer meeting, just sit there. We have, I don't know how to say it. We have a couple new young people in our church, and I've been feeling. I've seen in my lifetime friends in youth groups where there is no encouragement or no guidance of how to navigate the teenager lifestyle.
Yeah.
And so that was rolling through my mind tonight, seeing some of our new youth group members here at prayer. With this, if I face it being in church my whole life and I deal with it, how much more do people who are just beginners in this, new to everything, how do they deal with it?
Wandering around without any direction.
Right. And so that's when I brought this to you about the detour deal. Because, there's a lot of people our age that go through life aimlessly. They're just here. They're just doing whatever they could do and whatever they want to do. But we all have a purpose, even at I'm 19, you're 23. It's hard to figure it out sometimes, though.
It is. It really is. Even now, I'll sit and wonder, like, okay, when I graduate, what's next?
Right. Well, and I feel like as I begin to read this chapter, Paul, he's a prisoner. Here he is on an island. He gets bit by a snake. He's with the barbarian people, very dangerous people. But it all happened. The plan was, I feel like, that he was put on this island and people were starting to be healed. It all happened for a reason. We know it did. If he wouldn't have the ship would have never been destroyed. He never would have been able to see the miracles and the healings on the island.
Right.
But as a young person, I sit here and struggle with, is this the right decision? Are we making the right decisions? Are we going forward? What looks like a disaster, is it going to turn out right? And you kind of put the mindset of try to be in the shoes of Paul in this situation. I could not imagine being a prisoner and thinking, what am I doing going here?
And you think about how many times Paul was shipwrecked.
Yeah.
Several times.
Right.
What is the Bible says, 3? I think it was 3 times.
I think so.
I could be wrong. I don't have the scripture right in front of me, but I believe it was like 3 times when he was writing to one of the churches, He had shipwreck that time. And it's like, okay, that just threw off my direction. Like, so you think, okay, that part's over with, so now we got everything figured out.
And then boom.
It happens again. Like, oh, I've been through this. I know what to do. No, he still don't know what to do.
Well, I began to talk to someone throughout the week. He's become more of a mentor, I guess you could say, something like that. We begin to talk about there's sometimes a gap between generations of people. And I'm trying to word this correctly without being wrong. Sometimes there's a gap between encouragement with youth groups, I feel like. I know in my life, older people in the youth group, when you have in youth groups I've been in where there was more older people than younger, there was often that gap of being able to relate to the younger. And sometimes when there's no relating to each other in the youth group, some can go astray. That's been my prayer, especially with some of the newer people here. I forget, I got to get close. That's been my prayer with some of the newer youth group members here is, God, I don't want another youth group to fall apart to a degree because there's no encouragement. Because we need it.
Yeah.
2021 and 2020 has been rough. We need the encouragement more than ever. I don't know how you feel about that.
It's been a rough one. And, I'm not meaning to sound discouraging, but as time goes on, it's going to get worse.
Right. Yeah, it is. Well, that's where the strength of one another is going to come in at.
Yeah. And, there's a difference when you get encouragement from, say, an elder, and then when you get encouragement from somebody your age.
Right. It means a lot. Or you get
encouragement from somebody, if you're a young person, from somebody that's middle-aged. It strikes you different in the heart. And for some that's, had it happen, you know what I'm talking about. There's just a feeling when when somebody, comes up to you and is like praying for you, everything's going good, especially when you're thinking, I don't know how I'm going to get through this.
When they don't know nothing, that's
when they
the
don't know
best
anything,
times.
and somebody comes up, it's like praying for you. You're doing good, and you're like, I am. That's the time that it really just strikes you. I've had people come up and encourage me, and I just like want to just squall.
Because they really don't know how much it means,
right,
to a young person who's going through it. And honestly, I don't really understand how people who don't have the Holy Ghost go through it.
A lot of them, they find something else to take it away.
Right, they do, and that's another sad thing right there.
It's a subject in itself.
Yeah, it's a subject in itself, like you say. But that encouragement from someone means a whole lot, and that's what the youth rallies are for, like the one we're going to next week in JS. That bonding and that connection between you and other apostolic young people, it brings momentum to send back to each church that's represented. And it helps us not only in our personal lives, but it affects more than just us. It affects the youth group in a positive way, affects us in a positive way, our families. It helps us in such a mighty way when that encouragement is sent from someone. It gives you a sense of boldness.
And it's not just also people's ages that make it special, but when it comes from just, and hopefully the listeners understand what I mean by this, but when it comes from a special person themselves.
Right. Someone who you love.
When it comes from somebody that you highly look up to, it means a lot. I'm not saying it doesn't mean the same with somebody else, but just like it is with different age groups that encourage you, it strikes you different. It really does.
I agree. It's just something special about it when somebody you look up to for so long comes to you and says, hey, you can make it, and whatever you're going through, you can overcome it. It means it's a whole different level of appreciation from it. And it helps you. It gives you that little boost that you need to keep going until your next service, so to speak. Gives you that encouragement, the motivation, I guess, is what I'm looking for. That motivation to get you through until the next service.
Yeah, it makes me think of. I think it was right before COVID. Pastor preached. Maybe it was right after COVID. I think it was the week before they shut us down, if I'm not mistaken. I wish I had my notebook with me. It's in the car. But when he preached on enduring to the end, I don't know if you remember that message.
I remember somewhat of it, right?
Because the rumors was just going around about COVID, and it was just now getting here and all that stuff. But a lot of times, it's just enduring, and that can be lonely sometimes.
It can.
It can be lonely. And, everybody knows that when you're lonely, it's not a good feeling. It's a lonely feeling.
It's not.
So it's, yeah.
It brings a lot of discouragement when you're lonely.
It does.
And not in the sense of relationship lonely.
Right.
Just the feeling of being by yourself seems like you're the only one in the situation that you're going through. But when the reality is there's hundreds of more people going through the same thing.
Right.
You just don't know about it.
Exactly.
People our age, we're good at carrying facades and covering up the pain and the hurt.
Oh, yeah.
We really are. And it's not a good thing to cover it up, because that emotion, that raw emotion that we have with that pain and our hurt, I feel like it draws us closer, or it should draw us closer when we allow it.
Yeah, it definitely does. I'm trying to find, there's a scripture in my mind in the book of Psalms. where David talks about encouraging yourself in the Lord. And sometimes you've got to do it yourself until somebody comes along, because there may not always be somebody. There will always be somebody around, but you may not always get that encouragement from an outsider. You may, have to do it yourself.
Even when you don't feel like it.
Yeah.
And you got a valid point right there. No, you're not always going to have somebody to encourage you for you. You're going to have to push through it yourself. That self-will is going to get you through a lot.
Sometimes it's just you and God.
That's in that lonely place.
It's you and Him only, and.
But I found that's where the most growth comes from in my personal life, is when it's just you and Him. It's where I've grown the most myself.
In Samuel, 1 Samuel 30:6, it says that, and David was greatly distressed, for the people spake of stoning him, because the soul of all the people was grieved, every man for his sons and for his daughters. But David encouraged himself in the Lord his God.
Yeah, notice it says his God. Man, that's good stuff right there.
His God. So, it sometimes it takes you.
It does.
It takes you. The Lord's there to help, but it's one of those things. The Lord can do a lot of things, but He wants to see you do something that you're capable of doing,
even if you don't think you are capable.
Right.
Of it.
So this is somewhat a little digressing here, but it makes me go back to think of Dr. Daniel Blash. I don't know if you listened to his.
I've heard of him.
So he had mentioned. So he's a counselor, and he had mentioned that, like, people sometimes their knee hurts, and they want God to heal their knee. And so, well, God can heal my knee, so I'm just going to let God heal it. Well, God can heal your knee. That is true. But they also have physical therapy that you can get out and work your leg and work the soreness out and do it yourself. And he made that point. Sometimes God wants to see what you're going to do about it first.
Right.
If you're capable of taking care of it,
how willing are you to put in the effort for it?
Then you need to take care of it. If God's not going to put you in something that He knows you can't do yourself and then just leave you hanging.
Right.
If He puts you in that situation, He's going to take care of it in the end.
He will. And while we're here, you mentioned the knee, and you can go to physical therapy. Someone told me this week, my truck battery died, and they said, "Oh, it's just the devil. It's my fault. It ain't been changed in probably 6 years. Not everything's the devil."
That poor old devil sitting on the stump over there, everybody blaming everything on me.
But no, that goes back to your action. If I'd have changed my battery and kept up with it.
If you kept up your truck like you should keep up your walk with God.
Acting like Brother Patrick getting a, oh, yes, sir.
Yeah. Yeah. So, if...
Just encourage someone. That's all we can do. For everybody out there, just be an encouragement to someone. Everybody travels different roads, goes down different
and
avenues.
You may look at somebody and be like, oh, what? It just may cross your mind. The Lord may impress on you. Encourage somebody, and you may be like, why not encourage that person? Everything's going great for them.
They look perfect.
It's
all together.
There again, they may be, putting on that facade they don't want.
Just because we all have nice suits on, ties, nice dress shoes, and ladies out there in nice dresses, skirts. We all got baggage, pain, hurt. Be an encouragement. Even I stress this to young people I associate with that's not around this church, but be an encouragement to your pastors.
That's what I was just fixing to say.
Yeah,
I was just fixing to say that. Be an encouragement to your pastor.
I've talked to pastors' kids here last week while I was gone, and people do not realize how much pastors' kids go through. Be an encouragement to them, because as well as they might look like they have it all together, They're going through it just like you and I are as normal youth group members.
I was actually 2 weeks ago. I can't remember. It was right after revival. Pastor was going to get up and preach. He preached that Sunday morning. So it was the first Sunday morning and Sunday night after revival. He's going to preach that night. And I told him before church, I was like, I'm with you tonight, brother. You're going to tear it up. We're backing you.
Oh, yeah. And if that's the right night, I think he tore it up. He went after it.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing there. Encourage, if you're a young person, don't just encourage other young people. Encourage, if you feel led to encourage somebody else in the church, encourage them. You don't got to know what they're going through.
No, you don't.
Sometimes just walking up to them, love you and appreciate you.
Especially some of those elders that have put so much time over the years into the youth group, to young people at the local church. We really don't know how much they appreciate it.
Some of them have put so much into us, that it's the right thing to do to go up, encourage them, return the favor.
Well, and what I've noticed is a lot of people, like our elders, that encourage us the most are some of the ones that have kids of their own that's no longer in the church.
Right.
And by us being encouraged by them and then in return encouraging them, it helps both of us.
Right.
They motivate us to go further. We motivate them to go on, even though we both deal with things.
You both get something out of it.
Right.
It works both ways. It really does. Yeah, it's
a big help to be a help to others. Just be a help to somebody. I don't know why I couldn't get away from that this week. Just
it's
no matter what they go through, just be a help.
Sometimes it's getting you off track is just to see your response.
Right. Yeah.
Think about the disciples in the boat in the storm. Jesus down there asleep. The disciples are you crazy? What are you doing? It's pouring down rain. The sea's tossing and trying, and you're asleep.
We're about to die.
What's wrong with you? And just like, are you crazy? Let me sleep.
Do you not know who I am?
And then to just go up there and just, it's just a storm. Peace, be still, But just to see that response, they're going to go up at their normal day. We're getting on the boat. Who knows how many times they did that?
Right.
We don't know. They're going about their normal business, just thinking everything's going to be normal. Jesus is taking his daily nap, and you go out there, and it's just, not what you expect. But maybe it was just, God wanted to see their response.
A lot of times,
how are they going to respond to it? In that situation, they didn't respond to what I would call very well. If I was not used to seeing a storm on, seeing it like I was going to die, I'd probably be upset too.
Me too.
I will give them that.
You're not expecting it.
So a lot of times it's more of I've heard it preached a lot. How you respond makes the difference.
That's good stuff.
How you respond makes all the difference. Because if you respond in the wrong way, things can sure go downhill.
Right, they can. And whether your response is praise or whatever it may be, it makes a difference.
It does. Well, we're getting low on time here.
We're going to bore them to death. No, we hope this helps somebody.
Yeah, so we kind of...
You're not alone, whoever you are. We're all facing things in life.
Yes. So, we're trying to hit a variety of audiences here. We are more geared towards young people. So if the podcast seems different episode to episode, it's, don't be...
trying to fill the gap of age here.
Trying to reach everybody, in any way that we can. So... this week's a little bit different than last week.
Right.
Last week, just kind of...
We're kind of like a pastor tonight. We're getting out there on the time limit.
Yeah.
We're not 30 minutes like an evangelist, and we're hitting 45.
I've noticed it keeps increasing every time we do a podcast.
Right.
Last time was 38.
Boy, people are going to be in trouble if we ever turn out to be preachers. Look at us.
Yeah. We're getting warmed up now.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, so... just reinstating, we're going to be there
Yeah, join us Friday night. Let's see.
Friday night. What time does it start?
Let's look it up.
Let's pull it up. JS, Mississippi.
JS. Brother Gary Robinson's church.
If you've never heard him play a saxophone, oh man, you should.
You're missing out.
You should really listen to it.
See if I could find it. No.
He can tear a saxophone up. I like
So,
saxophone.
Brother Taylor Fish, it doesn't have a time. Well, it's just Brother Taylor Fish.
Probably
all I can tell you.
Pentecostal time.
At 7 o'clock.
7 Pentecostal time. See
Yeah,
there?
7 o'clock.
7 o'clock.
So be there. You want a good seat. Get there a little early.
Yeah, so how early would you recommend being there?
I've got there early as 5:30 sometimes.
Well, I
was
won't get
always
off
a
work
front
till
guy.
5.
I was always the front row guy. But
I won't get off work till 5.
no, you don't want to miss it, though. It's going to be powerful. People from everywhere, multiple states.
I encourage
Be with us.
you introverts to get out and meet people.
There's tons of people there.
I'm somewhat of a introvert myself, but I've kind of become more. I'm still partly and probably mainly introvert, but I've kind of stepped out since I moved here. So coming from somebody that is partly an introvert, I know you can make friends with the wall, you know.
As long as I get to know them first.
Connor can walk up and carry a conversation on with anybody, and I'm just sitting there like, I don't even know what to talk about. Like, hi, this is my name.
Hey, but we're giving this free advertisement away. If you show up and you didn't have a clue about this event until you heard this, let somebody know.
Yeah.
Hey, I heard about this through Life Talks, and I spread it around.
Yeah.
Good apostolic people going to be there, so we're looking forward to have you there.
We'll be around somewhere. I don't know.
Yeah, among the couple hundred people somewhere in the building.
I'm sure me and Connor will be up front.
If you can't find us in the sanctuary, you'll definitely find us in the gym where they're serving afterwards.
They got a coffee
we will
shop?
Be there. I don't think.
If there's coffee, you can find me at the coffee station.
Find me in the food line.
I'll be around somewhere. We both will.
Yeah, we'll be there somewhere.
So-
We'll be there. But I guess until next time, man,
Yeah, so
catch us there.
5 stars only.
You know
Right.
what it is.
Like, comment, reach out to us.
Right.
You know, we've had a little bit of reaching out, but we really want to hear from our listeners about things you would like us to talk about.
Send it to us.
Yeah. Email us at lifetalks238@gmail.com. Message us on Facebook or Instagram. And we'll see y'all, hopefully,
Friday night, Youthquake.
Friday night.
Be there. This comes out Monday, so
Yeah,
the
so
following Friday, we hope to see you.
who knows, you may get a sneak peek into the next week's episode.
Yeah, never know.
So,
A lot goes on between now and then.
we'll catch y'all later.